Protests continued 2 days after the Supreme Court's landmark decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. Some states already beginning to enact abortion bans and to force clinics to stop offering the procedure. Across the nation, there have also been counter-protests from people who were in favor of the decision. Events are being arranged by groups such as Rise Up for Abortion Rights and Students for Life Action. However, individuals from both sides of the debate predict that protests will continue and more fallout is expected, especially heading into the midterm elections. Joining me now is Todd, moderator of Meet the Press. Good morning.
Good morning, Christy.
With the overturning of Roe v. Wade in an election year, you have to ask this question. There are so many candidates up for re-election. Republicans are favored to take the House and the Senate. Governor Kemp here in Georgia is likely a slight favorite to win here. You think Republicans are worried about the red wave being contained, so to speak, because of this specific ruling? Could this backfire on them in the long run?
I've talked to plenty of Republican strategists who have said the last thing they need is to disrupt their path to winning control of the House and Senate is the overturning of Roe. Their candidates may be philosophically happy with it, but as a political when it comes to political strategy, I haven't found a Republican who thinks this is good for Republicans for the midterms. You know, part of it is, look, I think it's going to divide Republicans more than it divides Democrats, right? For the longest time, when Roe was in effect and the debate was about when should abortion be legal, when is viability, it would divide Democrats. Now, the question of whether it should be legal or not, this is going to divide Republicans. Should there be exceptions? This is going to divide Republicans. So I think it creates more problems inside the Republican tent, number one, and it gives Democrats something to rally around. They hadn't, you know, this was a demoralized electorate. And this, I think, gives them something to focus on. And I think I would expect a much higher turnout. I think this is going to feel a lot more like a small presidential election. And you're going to see, we're pretty polarized as it is. I think you're going to see far more closer elections now all over the country than we were anticipating pre-Roe.
And this has certainly energized people one way or another. What do you think the two rulings this week, referring to the abortion ruling and then the New York guns case, what are those two do to the long-term reputation of the Supreme Court?
You know, I've been thinking about how do you teach constitutional law now, because there's these new, in the gun case, some bizarre legal theory that you have to go back to, you know, was there a law in the books somehow, you know, 200 or 300 years ago before you can decide whether a restriction it meets a long-standing tradition. Anyway, it's just a convoluted theory. And I think because, you know, the gun ruling, if you think about this, part of what the court did really doesn't have any sort of philosophical cohesion. It just really has political cohesion. Because on their gun ruling, they were essentially siding with the individual rights. And on the abortion ruling, they side with the state, right? They didn't want the state to intervene on your right to get a gun. They do want the state to intervene on your right to reproductive rights. So there's really even no consistency. And I think because of the way this conservative majority was put together, sort of holding, you know, it wasn't illegal how the Republicans got those 3 Supreme Court justices, but it was unethical to some people how it was done, or certainly broke the rules of the unofficial rules of the Senate. And I think that only adds to the lack of confidence in this court. So, look, I think it's unfortunately painted those black robes red and blue for a lot of Americans.
All right, Chuck, thank you. Meet the Press airs at 10 right after 11 Alive Weekend Morning News.